Generally speaking, cut content is a very common occurrence within video games. I'd bet you money that your favorite video game probably had at least one feature in it that unfortunately had to be cut from its final release. This can happen because of a lot of different reasons, such as the developers running out of time, or the feature just didn't fit very well into the final game. With that being said, it's no surprise that an absolutely massive game like Red Dead Redemption 2 has a whole catalog of cut content and removed features from its development. Some of these are as small as just a few lines of dialogue between two camp members, or even as big as a whole character being cut from the game. Today, though, we're going to be looking at arguably the biggest piece of cut content from Red Dead 2, being the entire playable area of Mexico. For those of you who haven't played Red Dead 1, just below the dry barren wasteland that's known as New Austin laid a completely unique explorable area, Mexico. Mexico, as some people may or may not know, is not part of the patriotic US of A. Because of this, it had a lot of differences from the other two explorable states in the first game, making it very unique. That's why it made a lot of people sad to see it missing from the second game, although that's not entirely true. Mexico was originally planned to not only be a fully explorable area by John in the epilogue, but even by Arthur in the main game as well. Now, you might be wondering how Arthur would have been able to get to Mexico, considering the only way to get there in the first game was going through New Austin, which really isn't a good idea for our outlaw friend considering his situation. But that's because Arthur was also supposed to be able to go to New Austin as well, though that's a whole different video's worth of content. Today, I want to go over what we know about the development of Mexico in Red Dead 2, along with also theorizing why it ended up being cut in the first place. Now, I do want to start by saying that Mexico wasn't actually entirely eliminated from the second game, just mostly. You can actually still go to most of the explorable areas of Mexico, if you so please, but you'll need to either glitch the game or download mods that allow you to teleport over it, since there's no actual official way to get across the river blocking you. If you try to swim there with your horse, your stamina will just instantly deplete, and you'll drown quicker than John Marston stepping into a puddle. And we all know how that goes. What's also interesting is, just like the first game, Mexico has its own unique OST that plays when you're in it, having a fully completed 18-minute track fully implemented into the game, some of which is playing right now. This track sounds like a higher quality version of the OST from the first game's Mexico, so I'm not entirely sure if this is a remix or a completely different track with similar vibes, but it's still cool to see it either way. From what we know, most of the groundwork for Mexico was fully complete and even made parts of its way into the final game, so it's kind of shocking to see how the developers pretty much just threw away all of this work that went into such a big area. Along with some of the mostly complete aspects of Mexico, there's also a lot of incomplete features as well. One of these is the NPC and story dialogue for Mexico. Now, I can't find any actual confirmed dialogue for Mexico, but I found online that apparently some of Arthur's cut dialogue from New Austin, specifically conversations that he has with Del Lobo Gang, were originally supposed to be used in Mexico as well, although I'm not entirely sure. The only place you can find this in game that I'm aware of is by turning off the invisible sniper and going to Thieves Landing. There, you can interact with the Del Lobos and get dialogue that sounded like Arthur was talking about Mexico. I wasn't able to recreate this for myself, but I did find this video by Deadshot. If you do want to see the whole interaction, I'll try and link it in the description as well. Some content that was originally in Mexico was also moved to other parts of the game as well. As we all know, Sister Calderon from Red Dead 1 reappeared in Red Dead 2, giving us not only one of the best side missions, but also one of the best scenes in the whole game, and in my opinion, one of the most emotional scenes in gaming. With that being said, though, although there isn't much proof to back this up, it is very likely that Calderon would have appeared to some extent in Mexico, considering that that is the main area you find her in Red Dead 1, along with it being the place she ends up going after the events of the main story of Red Dead 2. I think it would have been really cool to see Calderon in some capacity during the epilogue by visiting Mexico, though it wouldn't have made too much sense considering Red Dead 1 does seem to be the first time that John meets her. The last big piece of content I want to talk about today is some of the towns from Red Dead 1's Mexico that seem to also be in Red Dead 2 as well. If you use glitches or mods like I talked about earlier, you can actually walk around Mexico and explore these towns, and most of them seem to be complete, although a lot of them are missing the insides of their buildings. Along with this, the towns also don't even have any NPCs either, making them feel a little bit unsettling and creepy. I think the weirdest part about these towns, though, is just how developed they were before eventually being cut, possibly meaning that Mexico's area was developed before the whole right side of the map was even finished. Moving on, let's talk about some reasons why Mexico was ultimately decided to be cut from the final game. I've looked online to find some of the more popular theories regarding Mexico's deletion, and there was a good amount of people who think that Mexico was just removed because the map was getting too big and the Red Dead devs didn't want to overwhelm players. Although this could be true, I highly doubt it considering how big Red Dead 2's map is already, and I don't think adding one more state would have really mattered that much. A second popular reason is that Rockstar just thought that there wasn't a need for Mexico since Guarma is already kind of like Red Dead 2's version of Mexico, although I also kind of disagree with this reason as well. Like I said before, I believe that Mexico was decided to be cut before the right portion of the map was even finished, so the devs wouldn't have even known about Guarma's existence or that it was going to be in the game yet. My guess is that Mexico wasn't cut because of the map's size or because it was a similar location to another place, but instead because it just didn't fit very well into the story. Even ignoring the fact that Arthur can't even access New Austin without getting shot in the head, it still wouldn't make any sense for him to be anywhere near Mexico since the gang's whole dilemma is that they keep having to move further and further away from the west, i.e. where Mexico starts. You could make the argument that maybe Mexico is just meant for John to go just like New Austin, but I don't think that's true. When exploring and talking about Mexico in the first game, John mentions several times how he's very unfamiliar with the place, so I don't think it would have made sense for him to have gone before then. Either way though, my theory is that when starting the development of Red Dead 2, the devs just recreated the entirety of Red Dead 1's map, including Mexico. Sometime during the creation of the story though, they decided that Arthur wouldn't be able to go to New Austin at all, effectively also cutting off Mexico from him as well. Because of this, I believe that they just decided to remove Mexico since they just believed there was no point in having it anymore since it just didn't really fit with the direction the story was going in. If Rockstar does decide to make a Red Dead 3, and it does take place in the same general area as the other two games, I think it would be really cool for them to try and incorporate Mexico so that we could explore some form of it again. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. Ever since I played through Red Dead 2 originally, I always wondered what happened to Mexico and why it just was completely absent from the game, so this was kind of a fun way to take a deep dive into the situation and try and get somewhat of an answer for myself and everyone else watching. As always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and as always, adios. Cruel, cruel world, must I go?